Hello, welcome to the Adventure Corner. Good to see you, Culinary, Hinton, Silverstreak, and Postfix. Thank you for the loon or water bird. Hope y'all are doing well. I just wanted to work on the game some more, and I figured why not stream it. Unsecret Crush is off playing games with friends, and I wanted to make games with friends, I guess. So here we are. Hope everyone is having a nice weekend.
Hello.
Thank you for the hello, Culinary. Oh, let's do some shout outs. I also, I can't not make apps, apparently. I'm cursed to make apps. Hey, it worked. I've been working on a little app to basically improve my experience as a Twitch streamer. Must code Robots Phaser 2023. I mean, you could easily replace that with 20XX, I think. But yes, more or less. So what are we doing? First thing I wanted to do is 20x6. Interesting. We have some little bugs that need to be fixed, so I think I'll try to figure those out first. So a thing I discovered is there's some screens where you can open something, and if you try to open your little sweetie PDA on those screens, it opens the wrong thing. So I think this should be an easy fix. Hopefully I'm not wrong. Let's see, we want the code, not the scene. So in this scene, you can open the book drop. And the problem here is this text. What's happening is there's scene code, which is specific to the scene or room you're in. And there's global code, which runs no matter where you are. And the problem here is that the global code always runs after the scene code. Honestly, it'd be nice if you could have some code that runs before the scene code, or, again, maybe we could have like a function or something that we can, put in our scene code to do some check that we want to happen everywhere in a more specific order, but we can't do that. So I think what we can do is just change this to 2 equal signs. So this only happens if you use the open command. I guess the tricky thing here is if you enter open book drop, this will no longer work. Which is not great. I'm trying to think of how, if there's some way I can do this without duplicating a bunch of stuff. We basically need to, we could just make it so they have to only type open by itself, which is in the menu that's built into the game. So probably most people would just do that, but, or, you can also click on the book drop, which makes sense. But I would really like open book drop to work. So let's figure out if we can handle that. Culinary said, what if we made the command for the PDA use PDA? Because you're not really opening it. Yeah. that is something I was thinking about. So here's the one little thing I'm trying to figure out with that is, yeah, that's probably a smarter approach. My thought was maybe it has a little cover or something, but we never ended up doing anything to suggest that. So yeah, I think use is better. The one thing I'm trying to figure out here is we have a close command currently. I guess we could just name that put away. Like, I'm trying to think of a single verb. You know, we could just do back. Store PDA. It seems like it's not really incorrect or anything. It just seems kind of like an unnatural choice. I guess, like, we've used back in the credits. Like, we have a back button and we acknowledge typing back in text as well. So maybe that makes more sense as our kind of like universal, like, back out of this thing you're currently looking at. Hello, a Maple Mystery. Great to see you. Equip, unequip, dual wield, stash PDA, pocket PDA. Yeah, these are all reasonable answers or suggestions. I think back. Like, part of the tricky thing with this is because you have this combination of being able to click and type commands, and because the text parser is so limiting, it's really hard to know what people are going to, like, just try. I would love if we could play test this a little bit before it's done. But also that seems tricky. But yeah, let's look at what I set up here. I think I might just go with back. You are welcome. That is, I've been, honestly, at least half of the reason I made this little app to do shout outs is just so I could have nice custom shout outs for game developers that were exactly how I wanted them. Send all your Twitch subscribers a vintage Mac to play test on. Perfect. You know, I actually had a dream last night that it was a weird dream because I think towards the end of the dream, I started to wake up, but like I was still dreaming a little bit. So I was starting to become confused about what was going on in the dream because that didn't make sense with real life. But I'm pretty sure in the dream, when I was fully in the dream, I had managed to get my old Mac up and running again. And I was making all these exciting plans for like, updating it so like it has lots of storage space and to make it easy to transfer files onto it from my more modern Macintosh computers and stuff like that. And then as I started to wake up, I'm like, wait, my Mac doesn't run. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's open our global code. Yeah, Taco Adventure, after I raided the other day, said they would be adding it to their list of adventure games when it's done. So that would be great. Also, Xenolon has offered to play it on an original physical Macintosh, which is really cool. I guess it's just a matter of, like, I'm sure there's, other people that could play test it as well. It's just a complication of what is the best way to do that. Like, just figuring out how to get the game to people in a way that's most convenient is going to be some work. And then probably the trickiest part is, how do I get feedback from them on the things I'm hoping to get feedback on? And I guess there's also an element of, like, I don't want to expect a lot from other people that are, not necessarily offering it up front. Like, I don't want to expect people to write down, like, all their experiences with playing the game. It would be great if I could just, like, have someone that hasn't played it and, just sit them down and watch them play it for a little bit. And then that would give me so much valuable feedback in a way that is very easy for the other person as well, and wouldn't take long. And then I guess the other weird complication is, like, how much should I expect from a player of this game? Maybe we should just give more instructions up front, because I'm kind of taking this approach that people who playing this would have some familiarity with World Builder, which isn't very realistic. You do have the built-in menu, so that gives you some of, like, a starting point for what you can do as a command. But beyond that, most people playing that probably aren't going to be super familiar with World Builder. And also, there's kind of a lot of variation in how World Builder games work. So yeah, there's just a lot to think about, and I'm not sure how to approach trying to get someone to play test it in a way that is useful. But I should probably think more about having either up front we could offer some tips for how to do certain things, or we could have a help screen that lists a bunch of tips, and that is, like, in the commands menu. Another thing I mentioned last stream is that there are some games like Ray Dunnikin's that will offer commands you can use in a very obvious way. Like, I think he typically used all caps for, like, a command you can use when you encounter something new. I find that a little, like, too... I'm not sure how to describe why I don't like that. I don't know. I guess ultimately I'm just being a little picky. Like, I don't want all caps text, I guess, is what it comes down to. Yeah. Let me see. Just take a look at Stream Deck shoutout add-in and see if you can't make one that closer matches your goals. Yeah, honestly, a lot of the reason I decided to make my own app for it is a lot of software is Windows only. And I don't want to have to use Windows for my streams. So, I mean, I'm already pretty much finished with this aspect of it, and it's fine. I've had fun doing it. So it also, like... I often just make a little app for hobby reasons. I made an app to control my Elgato Keylight because when I got it, I was really happy with the light itself, but the software for Mac just did not work. It would not bring up the light at all. And I poked around trying to figure out why that was, and I very quickly determined that I could actually write my own app very easily that worked perfectly. So I did, and I was like, well, I mean, I might as well release this. But then by the time I was pretty much wrapping it up, they finally updated their software and fixed the bug. So I haven't bothered to release that, but it was a fun little project, and I still like it better than their software just because it's a little more simple and Mac-like. But yeah, I make little apps, and it's a good excuse to kind of create an app using all the latest Apple APIs and programming features without having to worry about like older compatibility with older OS versions. So I can do things in a much more updated way than with my usual work, where, you know, I've had these apps that have existed for years and years, and, you know, over time I can drop support for older OS versions, but there's still a lot of just old code that's not ideal, and little workarounds for dealing with older OS versions. But if I write something new, it's a little more fun and freeing. And I usually learn a lot about newer ways to do things and stuff like that. So it's a mostly enjoyable experience for me, and definitely an educational one, at least. Hey, Daniel, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. It says, OG World Builder playtesters are currently in hot demand in the tech industry, as many have retired from the game. Context-sensitive tip seems like it'd be difficult. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't try to do anything like that. I was thinking more like just a help command you can use that would tell you some basic commands that the game understands. Like, we have a pretty, like, you know, using this device, you know, we could suggest what is the correct verb to use. So I guess we're going to get rid of open, but we'll allow use or look. Actually, we should test look. that might run into problems as well. But we could have a help screen that says, if you have an item in your inventory that you want to use in some way, type use and then the name of the item. Or, you know, if there's something in the current room that you want to open, just type open. So, you know, we can offer some like general advice like that would help people figure out how to do something if they get stuck at all. So use or look, we'll test that right now and see if look does anything weird, just because look is a default command for looking at the current room. How does the fallback for that work? Oh, there isn't one. Okay. Yeah, because I guess it always gives the room description if there's not something else to handle it. I think that won't be a problem. So now we can use PDA, close it, we can look PDA, so that works fine. And again, I guess we'll change close to back. Oh, right, that's why we can't use back here, because we have a back button. What if we got rid of the back button? I was talking the other day about how we maybe don't need a back button, but like I like the way this button configuration is. And I want to have a balanced design here. So what do I put over here? Log off or touch grass. Hello, Siku. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Maybe it can be a flashlight button. But then we have to program in flashlight functionality to the game, and that would be complicated. Heck. I'm going to have to think about this more. So OpenPDA no longer works, which is fine, I think. Gotta go, but looking forward to watching the VOD. Thanks for stopping by, and hope you have a great day. Give a shout out to Daniel. Also does more often streams over at Curtis Craig Talks. Gomo. What's Gomo? Interesting. I've not heard of this game. You're welcome. Maybe it plays a cute jingle. That's a fun idea. What if we just had a button that plays a sound? I was also thinking maybe there's some kind of functionality, like this is basically going to be an email device, so maybe there's some kind of functionality related to the emails where it would make sense. Was there grunting? Thank you for the grunting, Hinton. I feel like it was maybe just quiet or something. Daniel says, check out Gomo. We have a commission on our website which allows viewers to join us for a live stream and we'll play a game of their choice. So on Friday, one of our viewers joined us and we played Gomo. It's a cute short game. Interesting. Neat. Here's a bonus grunting if that first one didn't come through. Okay. So, let me just make a note about using the PDA, the Sweetie. Use or look to start using it. What about exit it? I guess we could use exit. Back is used by the back button. Close causes, like, close, we could use close, but like I guess my own brain is like, if I'm closing it, then to use it I want to type open. And since we have a weird conflict there, I guess we could just fix the conflict. Like, it's a little bit annoying, but it's not impossible. Let's take another look at that. And I guess, like, part of me is like, even though we don't have to allow open, I do like the flexibility of that, just because for whatever reason it keeps being the verb that I use when I want to use it. I don't know why. So the tricky thing here is, if we do the two equal signs, then all they can type to open the book drop is open. But we can also allow open book, which will catch open book drop. And let's see, I think we also allow you to refer to it as a box. Let's check the code for that. So book, drop, or box. So if we handle those three things, book, I'm just going to put them in the same order for consistency. Okay. The only thing I don't love about this is in a lot of our text parsing, we allow more flexibility. Like if you type look at the book drop, this text parsing here will understand that, which I like. Maybe I should just duplicate the text, the processing of this, and not worry about that so much, because we don't have a ton of code in this scene. Let's just do that. It's annoying, but it's not a big deal. So this block, we still want to handle if they just type open by itself, because that's in the menu, and I'm trying to support those menu commands wherever it seems sensible. But then we'll copy and paste this. And then we'll copy and paste this. And we'll just change what we're handling here. Okay, and this is open instead of look. Okay, so this handles clicking on the book drop or typing open by itself. This handles various combinations of noun and verb, like open book drop, open box. And it will also catch open the book drop. Or you could even type drop open, which makes no sense, but that's okay. I'm not worrying about that too much. And then what was the other? I really wish I could search all my code and find where I've written code to deal with a particular word or whatever. Basically, anywhere we have a door is going to present the same issue. And we have the toilet lid in the bathroom. Open any book drop. That would also work. Yeah, so again here, I have to do the same thing. Do I want to do this where every time we deal with an open command, I have to duplicate the code? Maybe it's fine. I'll just do it. Thank you for the flush in. I guess I don't have any code that's dealing with a more complex text parsing already. Okay. So I think the way I've been doing it is we check for the noun first. So toilet or lid. I think that covers everything. And then our verb is open. Okay. I should do a little testing to make sure this works and doesn't cause anything else weird before I start doing this with every single scene. Also, I just remembered I've been making a backup after every stream and I forgot to do that. What was Friday the 28th? Okay. And actually, I didn't put the open command back in for using the PDA. So we should have that in there just to properly test things here. Global. Ooh, Hinton asking good questions. Researching your code. Is the code stored inside the game binary? Are there text files? Is the game binary a container? I have so many questions. I have also had these questions, but I have not taken the time to investigate them. I'm thinking. I'll actually do that in a second here. I don't think... a lot of the problem here is I don't know much about how older macOS applications are structured. A modern macOS 10 or later application is a bundle, which is basically just a folder that's structured in a special way. So you put the .app extension on this folder and you have things like directly inside that you have a folder that's labeled contents, and then basically all your files are inside of that somewhere. There's other special files inside of that macOS looks for. And I don't really know if older macOS applications are remotely similar to that. I suspect that they are not, but I don't know for sure. Because I didn't really get into creating macOS apps until well after macOS 10. Right at the top was the code we want. Okay. There is a thing called ResEdit that I have poked around at a lot in the past, but it doesn't really give any information about the structure of the app, at least not in a way that made it clear to me. since I'm talking about it, let's poke at that. Let's see what our game looks like in ResEdit. That's temporary file we don't need anymore. So here's our game, and it's got all this stuff in it. Fascinating. So, for example, we have a menu thing here, and we can look at the different menus, and we can even modify these. These are basically like the built-in menus. So, like, we could actually... I don't know how World Builder would deal with it if we changed this, but we could change the default command menu. Ultimately, it just depends on exactly how World Builder is programmed, whether or not that would break anything. It's actually kind of an interesting idea now that I'm thinking about it. And like the default weapons menu says you do not have any weapons. And then we've got all these other things in here. A lot of these I don't really know that much about. This looks like it's a list of characters. So it's using a custom like data type to store some amount of character data. And then you can see in here we've got our default commands, swing foot, swing fist, kick foot. This is code, I guess. Interesting. So there's a bunch of references to our greenhouse in here. So this is probably the code for the twisty little path, I think. Interesting. So now an interesting question is, can I search in here through all this code? Probably not. It doesn't look like it. Okay, and this is the text for the twisty little path. What else do we have in here? Bundle. Ooh, icons. Nice. We could, if we want to, add a custom icon for our game in here, which is something I've considered. Not sure what a CDEF is. These are different controls. Okay, interesting. Oh, okay, I thought it was showing me a window, but it's actually giving me an error. The resource contains more data than will fit in the template. No, we don't need to look at that. It's fine. Okay. It doesn't want to show any of these. That's okay. Let's code. Unclear. DITL. Okay, so these are different dialogues that are built into the game. So we could... this is interesting because we could potentially customize some of this stuff, and I don't think it would break anything. Like if we wanted to have different text in the game over screen, we could probably find that and change it a little bit. And I can't imagine that would break anything. And these are... Okay. Some other aspects of the different dialog boxes. Okay. So we could basically change the position of the dialog boxes and their appearance and stuff. Anyway, you get the idea. We do not want to save anything. Hopefully I didn't break anything accidentally. Oh, Hinton said, I missed how we got here. Are you hacking? Yes, that was a program called ResEdit, which you can use to poke out a lot of like the internal bits of older macOS programs. I have only ever used it for weird little tinkering that I didn't actually know what I was doing in. But I'm sure someone that is familiar with programming older macOS applications would be able to tell you more useful things that it was designed for. All right. That was a distraction. What were we doing? We were testing our open command. So we updated the code on this screen. So we should be able to open PDA here, and that works now. And we should also be able to open the box, and that works. Close, you can't close. Yeah, we never had any way to close the box. Let's restart our game. Whoops, I guess I want new. And says, weird little tinkering that I didn't know what I was doing is my whole career in programming. True. Yeah, same here. Extremely relatable statement. So what was I going to do? I already forgot what I was going to do. Open. Oh, right. I was going to test just open by itself. Let's actually do this from the command menu. Okay. And that does what we expect. And then we can still type. Oh, no. What? I picked it up, didn't I? Why didn't that work? Oh, we have some code. Okay. We have some code we didn't update. So complicated. My plan for this stream today was that I'll fix up some little things I made notes about at the end of last stream, and then I'll spend most of the stream doing like some different art stuff. But I'm a little worried we're just gonna spend the whole stream trying to figure out this stupid open problem. Which, you know, it's fine as long as we eventually get there. It's fine. Okay. So the problem here is that I have, first I check if the closed book drop is on the scene, in the scene, and then we handle various things. And then down here, we have, if the open book drop is in the scene, we have some different handling. So that needs to be updated as well. Because it's not fully open, so it's reasonable for someone to, you know, try to open it again. But then we just want to explain that it's jammed and they can't do that. So we'll just duplicate this whole block here. And instead of opening it, we just print it's jammed. I'm just going to make sure there's not any other open commands in here. So I think now what I'll do, like that, aside from that little bug we found that we missed, that I think works fine. And I don't love having to duplicate the code to make everything work the way I want. I really wish I could make these windows bigger. I don't know why they decided to do it that way. But I would love to make this map fill up the whole screen so I can see all of the rooms at once. But I'm going to go through every screen and check for where I've handled open commands. I'm even going to look at ones where it's extremely unlikely, just to be on the safe side. This start screen we haven't actually used yet. I kind of made that because my thought has been once we give our game a title, we'll have a start screen that has the title text, and then you'll continue on to the bus stop. I mainly wanted to do that to have a credits button that's something you can click on. And this is also potentially an opportunity to point out our help screen if we end up putting that in. So we shouldn't have any open commands in here. None of these should have any open commands as far as I can think of. This one's going to take forever to open, so we'll speed it up. I did speed it up, right? It's a very good thing I split the PDA into 2 screens. Can we get a floppy loading sound effect? I don't have one, but I love the idea. I wish I had one. Okay, so again, we shouldn't have any open commands in here. I'm just being extra cautious. Okay, yeah, I didn't bother adding a fallback here because it'll just print there's nothing to open, which is fine. Although now that I'm saying that out loud, we do have the battery compartment, which an obvious thing there would be to type, open battery compartment. So we'll have to remember that when we get to it. I was also thinking that I will probably, just for simplicity's sake, if the battery is not dead and someone tries to open the battery compartment, I'll just have some text that prints that there's no reason to do that. Because otherwise we have 2 different screens where we have to open the battery compartment, and on the locked screen, the batteries are never going to be dead there, so it's not worth duplicating the code just to handle that. I should make a note to myself about open on Sweetie screens, open battery compartments. Okay, what else do we have here? Let's start at the bus stop. Didn't mean to open that, but that's okay. I don't think we have anything to open here. Like, honestly, I would even settle for a find within a single code window. That would be so helpful. But at least I've structured things in a consistent way. So I'm reasonably confident that I can scan and not miss anything. We've already done the library entrance, so I won't bother to look at that again. Bathroom. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything here. Yeah, I did miss. We didn't handle opening the lid. Oh, wait, no, that is... All right, we have a fallback here for when the lid is already open, and I duplicated that. So that should be fine. And then close. Close, we have this very simple like if they just try to close anything, which should be fine. One thing I'm thinking about right now is maybe I shouldn't be worrying about handling more complex sentences. That has been the source of a lot of my frustration with handling the text parsing. And that's another thing we could point out on the help screen, is just not use words like the. And that would simplify what we need to handle in the code. But I guess for now I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I feel like probably most people are going to. This is another thing where it's hard to know how people will play the game. If you're familiar with an older text parser game, you're probably going to keep the command super simple, just without really thinking much about it. That's definitely what I would do, because older text parsers generally accepted 1 or 2 word commands, and that's kind of it. Infocom games were a lot more advanced, and I'm sure there were other more advanced text parsers back then as well. But, and I guess a lot of my wanting to support more variety comes from having played a lot of Infocom games, or at least spent a lot of time playing a few of them. Hinton says, as a modern computer user, I would simply ask my AI assistant to play the game for me. All right. I guess our upstairs hallway is getting a little complex here from all the book titles we put in. I don't think we put any open commands in here. We just have push or press for the button. Foyer. Oh, we have a door to open in the foyer. That's right. I think the more I go through this, the more I'm thinking I'm worried I'm going to say this out loud and then immediately think of a reason why I don't like this solution. But and honestly, this is a lot of why I generally don't stream these cleaning up code activities, is that I tend to go back and forth a lot and just experiment until I'm reasonably happy with it. But I think that's the right idea, to not support the. It would be so much easier. And like I started doing this a bit ago, and then I changed my mind. So as I'm doing this, I'm like, am I going to change my mind again? But I think I'm going to commit to it this time. Because this is so messy, and this is a very sensible way to simplify so much of the code we have here. For now, I'm only going to worry about it for open commands, but I might go through and simplify the other code later. Oh, that's funny. This says if click equals book drop, but the closed book drop isn't going to even be here. So that doesn't work right now. Whoops. Oh, is that actually what I want to happen if you click the... the partially open book drop? I suppose so. I feel like a lot of complicated things I've run into trying to make this game is just there's a lot of ambiguity in World Builder itself in terms of what should happen when you click on something. Like, if it's something you can pick up, it should pick it up, and that's, you know, built into the game. But a lot of other types of objects, it's not so clear. I feel like it's pretty consistent that if it's a door or something openable, that clicking on it should open it or close it. But I guess I want to do a little bit more with being able to click on things than it at least was built into Enchanted Scepters, for example. Especially, you know, because we're making this game now many years after World Builder came out, and people are more used to clicking on things in a game like this than they are typing commands. But if you have something where you could do multiple actions, it's kind of hard to figure out what should happen when you click on it. But I guess since clicking on a thing typically opens it if it's openable, we should default to that even if we're in a context where you can't do that anymore. Okay, so did I update the bathroom? Do we think the editor is decompiling game code every time it opens a file? Like, yeah, maybe. Given what we just looked at, like, Culinary says certainly not. I mean, we went in with Resource Builder and we could see all the code that's in there. It's like stored in as like I think it compiles one way on close and saves the code as development artifacts. Could be. But kind of a couple counterpoints. Like, it will do cleanup on the code automatically in a way that, like, if I add some extra space here, or if I have a bunch of spaces after this, and then I close the code, like that space is all preserved while I'm editing it. But once I close and reopen it, it's gone. And it does a lot of cleanup that doesn't happen as you are working on it, which does kind of make me suspect that it's not really preserving exactly what you have in here. Like certainly something like a piece of text you've typed in is being preserved exactly. Now I'm wondering, like, if we type lowercase print, will it end up capitalizing that? Oh, okay, that's a syntax error. But yeah, regardless, I would love to know more about how this all works. But a thing that I think is really interesting is that whenever you save, just, you know, like saving this code, like that's going directly into the application file, and, you know, you could run it immediately. To the point that they warn you, we're running in a version of macOS that doesn't let you run multiple applications at the same time, but there is a warning that if you have a version of macOS that is capable of that, you want to make sure you're not running the game while you have it open in World Builder, because that could cause some unexpected things to happen. I was focused on experimenting, and I'm not sure if I actually updated the code here. Okay, yes, we still have our two separate ways of handling the open command. So we're going to allow open toilet. And again, this is like a partial match. So if they type open toilet lid, that still works. And we'll also allow open lid by itself. But again, I've decided that open the lid will not work. Another thing we could do is we could offer advice in our fallback commands. Let me open the code for that here. Okay, so that should all work now. So here's our fallback commands, and there's some fallbacks that actually are like built into the program. But if they type open, if open is anywhere in what they've typed, it will say you can't open anything here. So a thing we could do is add if text contains the, then we can print. I'm trying to decide if we should still say you can't open anything here. We'll just say try removing the from your command. So if they type something that has the word open and the word the in it, and we haven't handled it before it gets to this point of the code, then it'll print this little tip. Which, you know, if we decide to leave this in, which I'm inclined to, then we should also do that with these other commands. I'll go ahead and add that for close, but the other ones we'll worry about later. Let's try that out and make sure it doesn't do anything unexpected. Going back to the whole decompiling game code every time it opens a file, like I do wonder if that's possible, just because opening the code and opening a code window and closing the code window seems to take a very similar amount of time. So like whatever is going on there, it seems like it's doing a very similar amount of work each time. And if it's just like, if it has like just the text stored separately, it seems weird that it would take so long to open it. And certainly when the game is running, it does not take long at all to parse that code. Like, it's nowhere near as long as it takes to open the editor window. All right. So we can open PDA, close PDA. We can, let's try open the book drop. Try removing the from your command. Open book drop. That works. So to load into memory on a computer from this era. Yeah, I mean it's certainly getting into things like I don't really know enough about programming, and certainly you have more knowledge of it than I do. So, and if we click, it says it's jammed. If we do open book drop again, it says it's jammed. Look in book drop. That is a case where we definitely want to support in. So just because like open book drop seems like a very natural way to do that. Like putting the in there is not something I would typically do in any text parser, even an Infocom game that would not have problems with that. But if I'm trying to look in something, I would absolutely type the word in, because that would potentially, in a more advanced text parser, do something different than simply looking at it. Culinary says, the main reason I suggest that it's unlikely it's decompiling the code is that doing that is 100 times harder than compiling the code down to machine code, and I wouldn't go through the trouble if I were Mr. Appleton. Now you got me wondering if we could learn anything about this from poking at it and res at it some more. Of course, I probably won't understand what I'm looking at well enough. Mostly I'm curious if, like, there's a... Like, this is all plain text stuff, right? Yeah. I'm kind of curious if there's any code in here, or if this is just text. I'm pretty sure this is all text that's being displayed. Scene. So this is probably, okay, interesting. Okay, so this is probably like graphics and stuff, which is why there's not any readable text in there. And these are objects, probably stored in a similar way. And then this is our code stuff. Colin says, the other reason is that there can exist multiple different statements that compile down to the same thing, so you can't go back because of ambiguity. Sure. Although, I'm trying to think if that's really true in this language because of how simple it is. It's weird that someone whose parent isn't Appleton isn't themselves named Appleson. So this is all the code for the... Oh, interesting. Door... Oh, door closing is a sound effect. I was like, why is that all in caps? Like, I haven't typed item names in all caps, but it's a sound name, so that's why. All right, anyway, enough poking around at that. Let's get back to updating our open text. So we've dealt with the bathroom and the library. We still have a bunch of other rooms where we have doors. But now that we've decided on a simpler way to do this, it should be a lot easier. So, for example, in this case, we just want to do open or open door. I was initially going to add support for open normal door, but I guess I won't worry about that. Wanted to make a game, but instead poked around in a hex editor for hours. Yeah, sometimes these things happen. Oh well. As long as we're having fun. The way the compiler probably works is that it's replacing the text in the compiled code with an address range for the string in memory. Now I'm wondering how I could potentially learn more about how World Builder works. Where could I go to dig up that information? I'm not sure. In this case, yeah, that's fine. We don't need to... I was almost going to allow open bathroom door, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's fine. Open or open door is perfectly reasonable. I do want to recheck what I did in the front door scene. Okay, yeah. For these two-word statements, I've been using a single equal sign just to give it a little more flexibility there. I don't think it's really necessary in this case, but I'd rather be consistent about it. Wrote a compiler for some OpenGL shaders, and it was probably way easier to write than the compiler for World Builder simply because of the reduced restrictions of a modern machine in OS. Yeah, for sure. Upstairs hallway. I don't think we have any open commands there. I think all we have left are other scenes that have doors in them. So like the twisty path. So I've been streaming for over an hour, and all we've done is basically fix one bug. But that's okay. think that might be it. Is that the last one? I'm still going to check the rest of the scenes just to be sure. Nothing to open in the doghouse, as far as I recall. In the backyard, we have a room description that changes based on what the dog is doing, whether or not you've given the dog the bone yet. So this is another case where we would have had a conflict. Since you can do look PDA or look sweetie, we previously had a single equal sign here, and it would have given you the room description and then exited if you tried to type that command on the screen. But that should be fixed now. And I could cross that stuff off the list. Okay, let's go ahead and go through everything. So basically, I just want to do a quick double check to make sure I can open the PDA on every screen. And then also open the, other things in the scene we should be able to do. What happens if we do open door here? Okay, that worked. Great. Open door, it's locked. Open PDA, it works. Let's see, I didn't get the bone. We'll just do a quick cheat. Open PDA, good. Open door, good. Give the bone. Open PDA, good. Search. Take the key. Unlock the door. Open the door. Good. There's our friend. Good to see you, buddy. Open PDA. Good. Open door. Open door again? Okay. I was just like, wait a minute, did I handle that? But using the fallback is fine here, I think. Open PDA, good. Open lid. How does this work? Open tank. Okay, good. I wanted to support someone attempting to open the reservoir here. So I have a couple ways of trying to interpret a command to open that. Okay, that all seems good. And we don't have anything to open here, but we'll make sure that works. Good. I think that's pretty much everything. What happens if we open the PDA here? Okay. We should intercept that, I think. It's not really a problem, and when you close it, yeah, you'll go back to where the physical space you were, but we don't really want to be able to go from the credits to the sweetie. Mostly like right now it's not a big deal, but since it's not really an intended behavior, I would rather put in code to prevent it, just to make sure nothing weird happens later on. Okay, so I have a bunch of code here to handle some default commands that someone might try to use. For example, if they try to drop anything, if they use any command that has drop in it, it will prevent them from doing that. One thing that makes me a little nervous with this is I don't know if there are any synonyms for drop that the game would understand. But if there's a synonym for that I haven't thought of, you might be able to drop something in the credits. But I guess, you know, worst case scenario, something funny happens. So if they type open in the credits, we'll just say this is the credits. You can't open anything here. Actually, let's do this. We can handle multiple commands with a simpler response. Please close credits first. Please use the back button to leave the credits first. Or should I? Oh, actually, I think we already do support close for the credits. Yeah, I do. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other commands we want to intercept. Like north, south, east, west are just going to do the default you can't go that way, which is probably fine. Good. I think we can finally move on to something else. Proof pickup descriptions in upstairs hallway. Okay. So I had some text in our hallway bookshelf scene that I wanted to improve a little bit. Let's real quick check what is the default world builder response when you pick up an item. You now have the sweetie. Okay. That's something we can customize anywhere it comes up, but for the most part, I haven't bothered. And like, there's some cases here where we have to give our own response, and I'm inclined to just go with the default text. All I ever wanted was have the sweetie. Same hinting. Okay. So in this case, we had to be a little creative because we have some items that we want to have a different appearance for if you drop them later. So we had to write our own code to be able to pick up those items. And I have this funny little, you pick it up and place it in your purse, which I would definitely like to get that text in the game somewhere, but I want it to be more of an Easter egg than something that comes up just playing the game. You know, I don't want like a goofy answer that just comes out of nowhere that, you know, always appears here. I am fine with maybe having it as a random occurrence, but for now I'm just going to change this to the default. You now have the item name. You now have the skull. And then we have, you now have the book. Ooh, yeah, another thing, speaking of the book, I'm glad we did all that work we just did, because the book is something you would want to open, right? Like, that's a normal way to interact with a book. We could also support, you know, look at book or read book, but we definitely want to be able to type open book and have the game respond to that in a reasonable way. Yeah, it's fine though. Because of all the work we did, we can support that and nothing weird will happen. So it's good. It's good that we did that. And if we had chosen a different approach to just, you know, make the user type use PDA instead of open PDA, then we would still have to do all the work we just did. So it's fine. The global code runs after the scene code. Yes, that is correct. But we will have in our global code support for opening the book from any room. The same way I did the code for the Sweetie. Am I done here? There was something else I was going to improve. Improve the pickup descriptions. I'm going to make a note about Easter egg for you pick it up and place it in your purse. Okay, and then I had a note that searching the upstairs hallway should mention the items you can take. So right now it says you search the top shelf of the bookcase. Behind where the skull used to be, you notice a hidden button. It looks like you could push it. So that's fine, but we should also... Well, I'm going to think about that later. I do think it's good to mention the items on the bookshelf when you search. But we could also just mention those in the description of the room. If you typed open book, you should set a flag that the book is open, but do nothing because the player didn't ask to look at read the book. And don't let them read it until if the book is closed. That would be very cruel, but a little bit hilarious. And they have to turn page every time the text gets cut off. Okay, so what do we have right now for this description here? You're in a hallway that stretches east and west, though all the doors look like they haven't been opened in years. There's a bookcase in front of you. A staircase leads down to the foyer. This is a room description that we might want to do in code. Just because, like the backyard, the room as a whole kind of changes a fair bit. depending on what you have done. Like when the bookshelf is open, it seems reasonable to mention this passageway. You know, if they leave and come back into the room, or type look or whatever. The tricky thing here is how exactly do I do this? Because there's multiple items you can take. If we've already taken the skull, we have handling for using the search command in that scenario. I'm gonna add some additional logic here. So if Electrolyptus book shelf, and that's the object that's sitting on the shelf, is in the scene, then we're going to have the description mention that. I could make this a lot easier on myself by splitting the response into multiple sections, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, you search the top shelf of the bookcase. There's a book sitting askew that looks interesting. Behind where the skull used to be, you notice a hidden button. It looks like you could push it. And then we want to handle if the skull is still there. So then we're going to have another set of possibilities depending on whether you've taken the book already. I'm going to split this up a bit differently here. So we just have one group that handles, whoops, all of these search possibilities. So first we have if the skull on the shelf has been removed, which means you've taken it. And then we have, this is the kind of thing where I would love to be able to write some comments in here. Next we'll handle the Electrolyptus book being in storage, the shelf version of it. So in this scenario, the skull is still on the shelf, but the book is not. There's a skull on the top shelf of the bookcase. You notice a skull on the top shelf of the bookcase. Okay. And then our final scenario we have not handled yet is when both items are still there. I think that's correct. So this is our final fallback if none of the above sections have handled it yet. You notice a skull and a book sitting askew on the top shelf of the bookcase. Let's find out if I did that right. Cheat to get inside the house. Okay, so search. Oh no, I missed an exit. But otherwise that worked correctly. You notice a skull and a book sitting askew on the top shelf of the bookcase. So if we take the book, you now have the book. You notice the skull on the top shelf of the bookcase. You now have the skull. A glint of light catches your eye as you take it off the shelf. So we search now. You search the top shelf of the bookcase. Behind where the skull used to be, you notice a hidden button. It looks like you could push it. As you push the button, the bookshelf begins to move. It slowly reveals a hidden passage. There's a light coming from inside the passage. And then you can push the button again. And that all works correctly. So now I just want to real quick test that we get the right response if I take the skull first. You search the top shelf of the bookcase. There's a book sitting askew that looks interesting. Behind where the skull used to be, you notice a hidden button. It looks like you could push it. So that's all good except for we have an end instead of an exit when you have not taken either of the items. But that's an easy fix. Okay, so here I typed end because I was thinking our various checks would all happen inside an if statement, but we ended up having a fallback here. So we want an exit to make sure we don't continue it after that point. And that's it. Disk loading noise. Okay, I need a bathroom break, and then I think it's finally time to draw pictures, which I'm very excited about. I think first I'm gonna just do some little things like after you've picked up the book, if you drop it, it currently has an appearance that is not really correct, so we'll fix that up. And then I'll probably play with the little sweetie logo some more and see if we can finish that up. And well, I guess at that point we'll see how much more time we have, but I'll be back in a minute or two. We met the follower goal. Oh my gosh, 333 holding followers. Thank you for that follow. It's great to have you here. And also, what the heck? That's a lot of people that are allegedly interested in watching me play adventure games and make goofy little adventure games. And I appreciate it. Y'all are very kind, and I'm glad I've managed to do something that is enjoyable. Okay. What are we working on here? Our book. Oh, right. Before we do that, I wanted to check on something. A little complication with... It says, I'm having, quote, fun. I'm glad to hear that. A little complication with items here is that when you drop an item, like each item has a specific place on the screen where it appears, and that's just where it always is anytime you drop it. So let's cheat and get the key in the bone. Let's cheat into the house, and then we'll take these two items. Okay, so now I think we have all the items you can have so far in the game. So let's drop the soup bone. Okay, let's drop the sweetie. Fine. Let's drop the key. Oh, drop the normal key, excuse me. We're still doing okay. Drop the Agent Scully. Now we're getting a little bit of a problem here. There's a little bit of overlap, and it doesn't look too bad, but there's a couple pixels where the key should really be on top of the skull. I think we will solve this by just moving the skull a little more over to the right and up a couple pixels just to prevent any overlap. But I have occasionally been going in and, like, in addition to things overlapping, there's also the concern of if you drop things in any room, there needs to be space on the ground for that item to be there and not look weird, which is very tricky. But like, the approach I've been taking is if it looks okay-ish, then that's fine. If there's something weird going on, then I do my best to tweak things to fix it. But I've been trying to keep things kind of, you know, not too close to the right or left edge, just kind of in the bottom center area here. The skull might actually have to move down, like maybe we could put it over here more. And then the book here. I spelled it wrong. At least on the bright side, probably no one will ever drop the book because it's too hard to type. But right now we just have this appearance that is copy and pasted from when it's on the shelf. But we need to redraw that. So I think it'll be lying flat, probably with the spine facing you. I just wanted to look at this mess of items to help me decide where to put it, because it'll kind of affect the perspective I give it a little bit. You know, a thing I should maybe do is have another cheat command to just put all the items in the current room. Then I can quickly check what that looks like. Let's go back to the book drop. Okay. This is the scene. I actually, at one point, I ended up moving the bus stop up a bunch on the screen just to give more room for items here. There's kind of a weird tangent here I don't love, but it's not terrible. I think if I just move it over a little bit, it'll be okay enough. And I still don't know where I'm going to put the book, but we'll figure that out. Okay, let's get that cheat code in here. Global code. So we'll do cheat items. And this will just move all of our items to the current scene. So we've got normal key, we've got soup bone. Let's kind of put them in order of when you get them. We have Sweetie, Electrolytus book. And Agent Scully. Okay. Cheat items. There we go. Perfect. I am inclined to want to put the book off to the right because we have a scenario where if you open the bookshelf, if you reveal the hidden passage without having picked up the book yet, it falls off the shelf and just kind of lands on the ground. So in that scenario, it makes sense for it to be on the right side of the screen. So I kind of like the idea of just, having it over there, and beyond that, it doesn't really matter where it goes. So it seems like a reasonable decision to make. I guess this is a scenario where if we put it off to the right and too high up, it's going to look like it's going to be kind of floating in front of the bush. Although I suppose I could move the bush up higher. I'm not that worried about someone, going around and dropping all of the items in the current room. But, it makes sense for someone to potentially drop a couple of items. And, I would prefer to avoid anything looking too weird if they do that. Oh, I never noticed this bone is overlapping a little here. Thank you for the rats hitting. All right. Just thinking. Honestly, I think I'll just tweak this so the line gives the bone more room. Seems like the easiest fix there. At some point, I might make the bone a little shorter, but rebuild entire game to fit bone in. Oh, this is going to be slightly annoying. Yeah. Seems fine. Okay, and then the skull needs to move a little bit to avoid weird overlap. Let's see, it was overlapping with the key. I could just move the key. Well, I'm going to move this a little bit to the right. But then I think I'll also move the key slightly, and hopefully that won't end up overlapping with the bone. Normal key. Just kind of move it down and to the right a tiny bit. Fallout 5 delayed for 18 months due to bone too large. Oh no. Okay, so we fixed the overlap. I still don't love the way the skull is placed on this screen in particular, but I'm inclined to maybe not worry about it. Yeah, there's a thing where I'm trying not to stress about it too much because it is a complicated problem that there's not a great solution to, but it's hard. I think what I might do is move the sweetie over more centered, so it's kind of right where the book is now, and then put the book off to the right more. But let's go in the bathroom. So this is where the sweetie is going to be found. Okay. So actually, now that I'm looking at this, I don't think I want to move that to the right anymore. If anything, I'd rather, or I don't want to move it to the left anymore. If anything, I might want to move it a little bit more to the right. My thought is that you will search in here and you will find it behind the toilet, and then it'll appear on the ground where you can pick it up from there. But the spot it's in now is decent. Actually, maybe I'll just leave that exactly where it is. Let's put the book over here. And if it's a problem on any of the scenes, I'll just deal with that when we get to it. I would never stop having the sweetie. Same, but some people might choose that. And I guess we could end the game. But that seems a little mean. So let's go back into the upstairs hallway, and I'm going to draw it. Yeah, I guess I wish I had the bookshelf in here, but that's okay. Gotta make do. Actually, maybe I won't worry about that. Let's just draw it. Where's the book? There it is. Okay. So when it's on the ground, it's just going to be flat. should probably be a little bit bigger since it's closer to you. And this is a sizable book because it is designed to store items in. Let's get some reference objects in this. So this needs to be, oof, that's so far to the right. And then like it needs to come out this way. Whoops. So like it can't really be here because, yeah, I mean, it doesn't quite overlap, but it's still not ideal. I guess I can move this down a little bit. That should be okay. I could also potentially, like it's a little bit annoying to do so, but we could reorder items so that the sweetie is in front of the book. That might be worth doing. I think I made that too deep. It's also kind of hard to tell the perspective without any other items in here. And also, that brings up another thing I've kind of struggled with. Like, I really wish I had decided on a consistent perspective to use up front, which would just make it look more correct when you drop different items on the ground in a scene that's not where you got them from. But that's okay. But I'm trying to at least keep it so nothing looks too weird. Okay. So I want the perspective of the book on the ground here to look the most correct in the room where you get it from, because there's a pretty good chance you'll end up seeing it in that room. Oops. A thing you can do when you're editing a scene is to click on the text window to kind of temporarily hide the selection to see what you're doing. And then when you click back here, you're still editing the shape, which is very helpful. I guess I should remember Command R. That's a helpful shortcut to get back into editing without having to go into the menu every time. This line needs to come in more. why, but I'm not quite happy with how this looks. But I probably shouldn't worry about it too much. I guess maybe the issue is that I decided to draw it straight along the bottom, like it's perpendicular to how you're facing, which maybe doesn't really make any sense. And next to the PDA, it looks a little weird. And also, if it just fell off a shelf, it makes more sense for it to be at a skew angle. You know, I wonder what happens if I just, can I do this? Okay, no, I can't. Can only rotate one polygon at a time. All right, I'm starting over. Let's try this again. I'll fix that later. That's not right. Command R. I would love to be able to see what I'm doing when I'm drawing these shapes. This bottom corner is coming out so weird. That's better. And I missed your comment. Oh no, every time we open one can of worms, we find more cans of worms. That is true. I feel like, honestly, that's kind of programming summed up in my experience. That looks weird, and it annoys me. Just this bottom corner here keeps bugging me. But I feel like this is better overall than what we had before. This I'm gonna not bother to line up perfectly. Just put that in back. Good. We'll see how that looks. This isn't necessarily even going to be final, and I was also thinking it might eventually make more sense to make this a little pixel art object. Once we do the close-up of the book, we'll have a better idea what the cover of it looks like, which probably I don't want to get too elaborate with, but you know, it'll have some text on it. And it might make sense to kind of, you know, give an impression of what that looks like in this view. just so it's more obviously like the same object. So I think this is close enough for now. And let's try that if I just move the sweetie down there. See how that looks. Okay, so it's pretty close to where it was. Items. Okay, there's everything, and honestly, I'm amazed how relatively decent this looks in this scene. I do worry that I've maybe drawn this too big, but also, like, considering it can contain a potato and a light bulb, it's a reasonable size for it to be. So if we do this and then we push the button, then it falls off the shelf and lands there. And that looks great. I like the way that looks. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. That's another item I could check off the to-do list. Oh, I have a note that there's a typo I don't think I fixed yet. If we search the shelf, it says, "It looks you could push it," and I don't think I ever fixed that. Oh, thank you, Hinton. I don't think I need another bathroom break yet, but I will keep that in mind. Oh, there's actually two typos here. Okay. You search the top shelf of the bookcase. There's a book sitting askew that looks interesting. Behind where the skull used to be, you notice a button. It looks you could push it. It looks like you could push it. And then we have copy and pasted that same typo in multiple places. You notice a skull on top shelf of the bookcase. You notice a skull and a book sitting askew on top of the bookcase. I'm going to change this order. There's a book sitting askew and a skull. On the top shelf of the bookcase. Okay, I like that better. What was the other typo? Falls of the top shelf. A book falls off the top shelf onto the floor. As you push the button, the bookshelf begins to move. It slowly reveals a hidden passage. There's a light coming from inside the passage. As the bookshelf moves, a book falls off the top shelf onto the floor. Okay. Typos fixed. We've redrawn the book. Now what? Let's put the sweetie in its proper location. object data. So it's going to start out in storage. And we can find it if we search the bathroom. So if text $sign equals search, then behind the toilet, you find a small electronic device. Oh, wow. This is a little sweetie. Trying to come up with I thought about this text earlier, and I had something in mind to write here, and it's just completely gone from my mind. It's a weird little PDA for email. Used to have one of these. In fact, I was trying to do on modern Mac OS, you can hit Option semicolon to get an ellipsis, but we can't do that here. In fact, this is it. It's scuffed in the exact same places you remember. Oh, and then we need to move it. Move sweetie to scene. Okay. A work meeting. Oh no. Yeah, I guess it's Monday there. I'm so sorry to hear that. I will tell them to speed it up so I can get back to world building. Good. I hope you have an okay meeting. I would say I hope you have a good meeting, but that seems unrealistic of a meeting, so I hope it's okay. Now let's cheat inside the house. Oh. Let's try to type house correctly. Okay, and now we can search in here. And we get all that text I just wrote, and there's our little sweetie. Behind the toilet, you find a small electronic device. Oh, wow. This is a little sweetie. It's a weird little PDA for email. You used to have one of these. In fact, this is it. It's scuffed in the exact same place as you remember. You now have the sweetie. Okay. So another thing off the to-do list. I do want to... We're missing a space after this text, which keeps bothering me, and I keep forgetting to fix it. Okay. And I think the next thing I don't have a lot of time left, so I think it makes sense to just continue poking at things we worked on Friday. So I think I'll mess with the little sweetie logo some more. I'm gonna need a cheat code to... Oh, right, I forgot I can do cheat items and get all my items. There we go. So we can turn it on. We can enter our placeholder passcode. And there's our logo. One thing I never went back and fixed is these L's are a pixel too short. And then I want to play around with the little candy icon some more. I don't dislike how it looks right now, but I feel like I can maybe get it to look a little better. So I'm just going to experiment with it a little bit. Thank you, Culinary. And then I'm a little torn between folks kept encouraging me to animate this logo in some way, and I'm a little torn on whether to try that or not. M Zizzy, great to see you. Lil Sweetie merch one. That's a lovely emote. Soon, very soon. Probably not, but that would be very funny. I hope you are doing well, M Zizzy. Oh no, you're not popping up on my app yet. I'll have to wait a moment to give you a shout out. I do maybe want to make a little emote for the Little Sweetie logo, the little candy. And I do have an open emote slot. I opened the wrong program. I'm in World Builder. I want Mac Paint now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this because this is already full of a lot of different variations of the logo. And we just want the latest version. Okay, so these are all trash. I mean, they're not trash, but we don't need them anymore. The bean version is very funny. Okay, so we'll start with this. And make these a pixel taller so they line up with the rest. Okay. And now we're going to play around with this little candy. There we go. Y'all should go follow M Zizzy. Her streams are much more entertaining than mine. Okay, so I want to try. I originally tried to make this look like a very typical like mint candy, like with the little red stripes on it, but I had a hard time getting that to look good. So I tried other options, but I want to go back and see if I can make that work. A bold-faced lie? I don't think so. And then the other thing I don't like is, well, I think could possibly be better, is like I want the ends of these to have like a more jagged appearance, and I don't know if I can do that because of how little space we have to work in. Actually, that's not what I was trying to do with it, but I might like it better. And then I want to see if I can maybe put something in to make it look a little crinkled. But there's so few pixels, it's quite hard. So I'm going to open up a reference here. Actually, Silver posted a good one in chat. That's like straight on. Oh, okay, never mind. Discord wants me to type my admin password so it can update, and I'm not going to mess with that right now. Peppermint candy. Okay. So the way I drew it, the way I tried to draw it was having these swirl lines that come all the way into the center, but a lot of them just kind of have them around the edges, which might be a little easier to draw. So let's see what we can do. Let's start with just one on each side. And then see how much of a mess that turns into. And wait, I screwed up already. This went the wrong way. It's not bad. I would probably make him gray. Let's try that. Oh, which one of those looks better? Or did it look better when they were black? Let's try more variations. I also can't decide if I want the little candy logo to have an outline on it. So I'm going to try it that way and see if it looks terrible or not. Definitely reading the second one better. Okay. I feel like this is going to be too much, but I want to try it because just to match the line weight of the text would be kind of nice. But it's probably going to look terrible. It doesn't look as bad as I thought, but it's not great. Let's kind of put, whoa, no, get over there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this one and play around with it a little more. Incredibly impressed with your dithering that effectively with such a small amount of pixels. It's very hard, but thank you. Culinary also likes the second one. So I could, like, I feel like we need something on these little wrapper ends to at least, like, they need dimension or like a crinkled effect or something. It's just a question of like which 2 pixels do I draw here to make that look the most convincing. Like, I feel like this kind of a thing, like putting a pixel there would work great if the wrapper was a little bit bigger. Like that looks, actually it doesn't look as good as I thought it might look. But I think it's making that part of the wrapper too big. So I don't really want to increase the size of that. Maybe that's not so bad. Yeah, there's just not enough pixels. What do you think? Is that good? Do we just call that good enough? This one here. And then I've been trying to think of a way I could give this a little animation. We could at least experiment with animation in some way that's just like 3 to 5 frames. I don't want to do too much more elaborate than that. One of the possibilities I was thinking of is like the text starts out without the candy in the middle, and it kind of moves to the side and the candy pops up. I think I could do something like that in like maybe 4 frames that, you know, just adds a little bit of fun animation, and we can kind of see how that works and how much of the size it takes up. I think I'm gonna commit to this one for now. So let's try drawing some animated frames here and see how it comes out. So I guess I should put that at the bottom since that's the final form. And then I guess I'll start with the, whoop. I don't know why. Why do I always want to command drag? Like, does that do anything in Photoshop? Is there a reason I'm doing that? Okay. So something like that to start, and then actually let's I'm gonna save the candy part for last, because in order to animate that I actually have to draw different versions of it, and I think I'll test this without that first just to see if it seems like it's gonna work. So this frame will have, I guess these should be a little closer together, and then I'll have a smaller candy in the center that's like starting to like come in from the background. And then we'll have a frame that is, I guess, gonna be pretty close to the final, but I want to have like a little bounce. So like this text comes out a little bit farther than it should, and then it bounces back into place for the final frame of the animation. So could we do that in 4 frames? So like small candy here, and then maybe a slightly bigger candy here. Like that would definitely help give it the fun animated feel that I'm going for. I have no idea how well this is going to work in 4 frames, because like double that would look fine probably, but let's find out. And I also don't know how fast this is going to happen, and I also don't know if that like depends on how fast the computer it's running on is. Like I've seen there's no built-in support for animation in World Builder, but you can basically just swap in different objects and get kind of an approximation of animation. Actually, we can kind of click through here and see what this looks like so far. So that's our starting frame, and then it splits apart and splits apart more, and then it kind of snaps back into the final. There's a little shift happening there that's not intentional, but maybe I didn't do the bounce. It might be too subtle. Probably still too subtle. Okay. Oops. Oh no, I accidentally hit copy. Okay. Okay, that might be a little too subtle still, but let's try that and see how it looks. And I also want to check the application size before and after. So right now we're at 73K, which is still extremely reasonable. I'm gonna write this down. 73,766 bytes. And our sound is at 108K. So that's a total of 180. So we're still like half the total size we're have set as our ideal maximum. Disclaimer, I have minimal idea what I'm talking about. Well, I think you were absolutely right. So good call. Okay, so I have PDA screen unlocked. That's our current. So I think what we'll do is we'll remove the logo from here, and this is going to just be a blank screen. I still haven't decided if I want anything else to be on this screen. It feels a little like it could use maybe a pattern around the edges or, you know, something else going on, but I'm not sure yet. But then we'll create 4 new objects for our animation. So we'll have PDA screen. Let's see. I think I want to keep these as short as possible. So we'll do L for logo and then 1 through 4. PDA screen L2. PDA screen L3. PDA screen L4. Oh no, what'd I do? Was I not hitting the create button each time? I'm just scared I screwed something else up. I've been in the habit of doing this thing where I hit create and then name without scrolling down to look at what I'm doing, just because every time you create, it scrolls to the top and it's a pain to scroll down every time. This is the first time anything weird has happened. I think I just wasn't hitting create for some reason. Okay. Scrapbook. So frame 1 is here. I feel like we might end up adding another frame in the middle if this works out. Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm going to end up having to create a guideline, I think, to align these easily. The first one I'm going to paste in here to line it up where we want it. Get a rectangle in here. So it's a little tiny bit high. And what's that? Command W? Okay. Way off center. Okay, one more pixel. And that's close enough. Okay, so and what I think I'm going to do here, I really wish I could just draw a line, but I can't. So we'll do a rectangle that gives us the bottom of the shape, or the bottom of the logo rather. Yeah, that's fine. And then I can copy and paste this reference rectangle between each object. Ooh. Centering is also a... Okay, I'll copy all of this. This is all going to be a little bit annoying. Good evening, Cosmic Void. Great to see you. Oh, thank you for the cheer. Our Swamp Gator loves those bits. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so this is where it gets a little complicated. With these overlapping. Okay. Honestly, at this point, I'm going to be very impressed if this comes out even looking close to decent. Oh, I screwed up. I need to go back and get the previous frame. So it would be really cool if we could actually like step through the frames of the animation and make sure this is looking good. But I think the only way we can preview this is to actually go into the game and try it out there, which is not ideal. Because again, World Builder was absolutely not designed for animation. Okay. Did I line those up well? I don't know. Probably, maybe. Okay. So now we need to add some code to switch between these frames. So I think I'm deciding where exactly to put that code. I think I'm going to put it in here for now, at least. Excuse me. And that's what I want. Okay. This will probably get changed later. Actually, I'm not going to do that. It's easier to put it in here right now. I just have to wait for this to load. Y'all should go check out Cosmic Voids Games, and currently running a Kickstarter for Twilight Oracle, which looks like a lot of fun. Speed. Faster, please. Thank you. Too fast. Okay, so somewhere in here we have our code for when we first unlock the PDA. The little sweetie. There it is. Yeah, okay. So this is moving the buttons from the one screen to another. So before that, we're going to do our animation. And this is something I haven't actually done yet myself. Again, it's not supported by World Builder at all. But a lot of, or at least some of, third-party World Builder games have some limited animation. And Ray Dunnican, who created a lot of World Builder games, also wrote a lot of documentation for it that is included with the freeware release of the game. So I will definitely want to look that over and see if there are any tips for improving this here, but for now, I'm just going to write this the way I think it is being done. So we just are going to move in the objects we created one at a time and then move them out. And then I believe that just from the way World Builder works, like you'll see each frame being drawn as they move in and out. I guess the unlocked screen is on this scene by default. I think that's how I set it up. So we'll just repeat these two lines for each frame of the animation. And hopefully that kind of works out. So we're going through each frame. We move the frame into the unlocked little sweetie screen, and then we move it to storage. I'm just pausing to think here because we might actually see it kind of blinking out in between frames because we're moving it to storage before the next one moves in. It might look better if I have an opaque background, so then we can layer each one on top of the previous frame. But right now the objects are transparent. So we'll try it this way first and see how it looks. I don't think it matters, but I'm going to move the sound. Like ideally we would hear the harp sound as the device unlocks and then like see each frame. But I really feel like the way you see and hear things has almost nothing to do with how they're ordered in the code. Like this text "you got it" will appear on the locked screen text box before we even see Oh. We're getting moved. Okay, so this needs to move. That needs to happen first. I'm curious, actually, if this will make a difference now. And I'm especially curious which screen this "you got it" text will appear on. Let's find out. I have my Google image search for the peppermint candies, and there's something called peppermint candy puffs. Puffs. Fascinated by this concept. Like, that sounds like something that would be soft. Oh, this is so slow. I can't wait to never have to open this screen's code again. We could go even faster. Let's see, we have an all-out speed option. Let's try that. Okay, it was slightly faster. Okay, we definitely don't want to be all out all the time. Oh no! I've done it again. This keeps happening. If you create an object and don't give it a location, a starting location, it'll just appear on a random scene. And so I've accidentally created some logos that we can pick up. On the ground, you see a PDA screen L1. You now have the PDA screen L1. Honestly, that's fine. I don't need to fix that to test things. Let's go in the house. All right, I keep forgetting we can cheat items and get all our items. And use the sweetie. I don't like... throughout the game world, there are those different versions of the logo that I've created, but I don't think that will be a problem because we moved them all into place during the animation. Oh no. Interesting. Okay. Let's take a quick look at the documentation on animation here. Oh no, is there? I thought there was. Is that an advanced code? No. Let's check the FAQ. Hello.
How you doing on that wrapping up for dinner thing?
Not great if I'm being honest.
Okay.
But I'll try.
Okay.
I want to try to finish up, at least get this animation test actually doing something.
Like half an hour.
Oh yeah, that's totally doable. Okay. And then an hour passes and I still have not fixed the animation.
I'll just eat without you then.
That's fine. If you couldn't hear, she said, I'll just eat without you then. This doesn't look like anything to do with animation. I'm not actually reading things. I'm just kind of looking at the different bits of code. Oh, now I remember where I came across some... Actually, this is more fun to look at, too. Let's open Ray's demo. So this is a... Oh, yeah, and we actually have animation room code in here. But I will go ahead and open the demo because I think we can see some animation and get a little bit of an explanation. So we can see here we have an animated logo. So that's about the quality level of animation you can expect to accomplish in World Builder. And then there's Ray to give us a little introduction, but we're just going to click through this. I think we can open this door. Whoops, I clicked too many times. East. Here we go. So this room has some animation demos in it, and I think the text will explain it a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, here we go. So it says, this is a smoother method of animation. All the objects are in the scene, layered one on top of the other. Part of the background is incorporated into each object to help hide the objects beneath it. When the button is pushed, the objects are moved to storage one at a time, starting with the top layer. When only the bottom layer is left, the animation objects are returned to the scene one by one. This returns the spring eye to its original position on the pedestal. Okay. So that's probably the method we're going to want to go with. Let's see how this other one works. This is the simplest form of animation. An object is moved to the scene, and then the next object is moved to the scene, and the first one is returned to storage. In this case, there are 3 objects representing the spark. Each time one is moved to the scene, the previous one is removed. The button on the pedestal is animated the same way, except only one object is used. When you click on it, it's briefly removed to storage, then return to the scene. Here the process is repeated a few times to increase the running time of the animation. Okay. So I think this approach, like, it seems like both of them are kind of relying on the overlapping I was talking about regardless. But I think the second approach is probably what we'll go with. So we put all the logo versions in there at the same time, ordered on top of each other, and then move them out one at a time. Which I guess means they need to be in the opposite order in the objects list? But let's look at the code for that just to make sure I'm understanding correctly how it's done. A lot of this is just code to handle interactions that we're not worried about. Okay, so this is the left side. So we have the first 2 frames get moved into the scene, and then the first frame gets moved to storage, and then the third frame is moved in. And then it just kind of goes backwards. Okay. But this is more or less working how I thought it worked. So I must have screwed something up in my code, because we should have seen some amount of animation. Largely pointless meeting concluded. Wonderful. Welcome back. So, all right, we gotta open this again. Speed all out. Hey, that was pretty quick. I do feel like opening the code is faster than closing it. I was previously thinking it took about the same amount of time. So I wonder, it's possible I have a typo here somewhere, and that's why we didn't see anything. But I don't think I do. Which makes me wonder if maybe doing this all in the code for a different room is resulting in us not seeing what's happening. So it's possible I need to move this code to the other room. And I think I will want to, I'm trying to think here. I guess I'll worry about that later. I was thinking I might want to have a variable set up to keep track of whether they're unlocking the device for the first time. But I think for now I won't worry about that. I'm just going to copy all of this. And then I'm going to delete stuff that we're not going to do here. So the rest of this, for now, I'll leave the "you got it" text there. This doesn't really give you the opportunity to read that text, but it's not important text, so it's fine. Maybe we should spend the next few streams improving the efficiency of the World Builder software. Probably not, but I would love to if I could. At least we live in the future where we can make it run much faster than it ever would have on a computer at the time. That's something, at least. So yeah, it definitely takes longer to close it. Way longer. I made it go fast, right? It's honestly like it's using very little of my actual computer's CPU. So I guess all out is just kind of as fast as the emulator can go, not as fast as my computer itself can go. Okay, so now we're opening this code. And eventually we're going to have to make sure this code only runs when it should. But for now, I think we won't worry about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it at the top. I will add some code to make sure we're on the... Ooh. I need to consult the manual. Maybe someone hacked a crypto miner in the save code for World Builder. I hope not. But I suppose that is a possibility. So there's a way you can check. There's a loop variable, which I think is loop number sign. And the loop number, it starts out at 0 when you enter a scene, and that it increases each time. So I'm just trying to find the reference to, okay, yeah. So the number of commands the player has given at the current scene. So we want if loop number equals 0. Res Mason, welcome, is dropping a fascinating fact in chat. The former mayor of Chicago wrote a guide to the Macintosh ROM. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, and welcome. So if loop number, oops, get you on the right scene here. If loop number equals 0, so this code will run when you first enter this scene. We will eventually want to add some other conditions to this because we only want it to run the animation when you are unlocking the device. But for now, this is fine. Oh. It's called Rahm Emanuel. Great. Okay. So now this should do something. I don't know if it's going to do anything good, but we can try it. So, cheat and get all our items. Use the sweetie. Oops, gotta turn it on first. Eventually, I'm gonna need to add a cheat code to automatically unlock. Oh no. Why is that not working? One thing I just remembered is I never did fix the random placement of the objects. I'm so sure that would not affect this issue, but we should fix that while I'm thinking about it. So we're changing this to storage and making them a mobile. Okay, PDA screen L1. I'm just looking at this. I can't even copy. Like if I go in here and press Command C to try to copy this, it will just enter a letter C. So I'm just looking at this to be absolutely certain I am typing the item names correctly in the code. I opened the wrong thing. PDA screen L1. This, like, I copy and pasted this from working code, so I don't think there's a typo there, but we can change it to scene now. Which is good. I kind of wonder if the way I'm doing this is just resulting in you not seeing the changes. So maybe you kind of have to do some overlapping. Like, considering that is how the how Ray Dunnican did the animations in his games and in that demo we just looked at, I feel like it must be required for whatever reason to actually see the changes. So we move the first two frames to the scene, and then we move the first one out. And then we move the third frame in and move the second one out. And then we move the fourth frame in and move the third one out. And then actually this we want to leave. We want the final frame to stay on the screen. So that was probably why we were not seeing anything in the end. But I think the ordering must be important to actually see the individual frames. And then another thing I'm going to do, since we now have overlapping of objects and our logo is mostly transparent, we need to add something behind it. So for now, I'm just going to have the full screen behind each frame. Oh, what? What is that? Huh, it's just a circle. Why is that there? That must have been from the goofy smiley face and I forgot to delete it or something. Like I drew it accidentally. I don't know. Weird. Okay. So we're just going to put that in the background of each frame. So when they're overlapping, you won't see the previous frame. Will it actually work this time? Who knows? Cheats. Yes, it does sometimes take me 3 times to type a word, a very simple word. Use Sweetie. Turn it on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why though? What am I missing? Let's take another look at that demo code. And I think I will also add a cheat code that takes me directly to this screen so we can test it easily. Let's start with looking at this code. So if you click the button, it moves the button to storage, which I think lets you, like, it makes it look like the button is being pressed in. And then it plays a button sound. And then it moves the button back. And then it plays this radio sound. And then it moves the first 2 frames to this scene. Okay, I've got it on a slow enough speed that we should be seeing animation. Like, this code all looks like exactly how I did it. And we saw the final frame of the animation this time, so there's no typo in my object names. An object is moved to the scene, and then the next object is moved to the scene, and the first one is returned to storage. In this case, there are 3 objects representing the spark. The button on the pedestal is animated the same way, except only one object is used. When you click on it, it's briefly removed to storage, then returned to the scene. And then we have the animation for the right button, and in that case, all of the objects are moved to the scene. So we have 7, and then they're moved out one by one. And moving them out one by one is apparently enough to make that animation visible. Now I'm wondering if maybe it's not possible to see an animation that happens when you first enter the room. Maybe that's the problem. Like, it could be that it's just like there's some optimization in the code where if you're entering the room for the first time, it does all the drawing at once. Whereas if the scene is changing while things are being moved in and out, you'll actually see those changes. Like, honestly, that kind of makes sense. So that means probably the way to deal with this and see our animation would be to actually do the animation on the locked screen. And then after the last frame of the animation, then we move you into the unlocked screen. But for testing purposes right now, and so I can finish this up and eat dinner, let's do it a little differently. So I'm going to leave that there for now, but then I'm also going to say if text $ equals animate, then I will repeat the same sequence, and that'll let us see if something different happens if you're already in the scene when it runs this same code. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, no animation. Animate. What? The huh is expected because I have an end after that block of code. But why aren't we seeing any animation? I'm so puzzled by this. Oh, this code is not appropriate anymore. Is it possible that's doing something weird? Okay, I also have, this should all be deleted. Because the previous screen handles that. That was just moving our invisible buttons onto this screen. So if nothing else, we know this line works. And like this was all copy and pasted. Like I know these item names, these object names are correct. We have scene at, that's correct. Storage at is correct. Like the fact that this works means there shouldn't be any weird mistakes here. So everything is, I think, doing what it's supposed to do, but something is not working the way we expect. So frame 1 is moved to the scene. Frame 2 is moved to the scene. And then frame 1 is moved to storage. We should be seeing these changes. I do wonder if moving the player there was somehow causing something weird. Let's check that. I'm a little tempted to just be like, well, we'll wrap up the stream, I'll go eat dinner, and I'll figure this out off stream. But like, I demand the satisfaction of having accomplished a silly little animation. Nothing. But each time there's a pause before it says huh, which, like, it's clearly doing something. One thing we can do is check our file size here. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. We started before the animation, we were at 73,766 bytes. We're now at 75. 573 bytes with animation. So we've added a little less than 2 kilobytes for 3 frames of a logo animation, which isn't great, but it's also not that bad. Like, we're still way under the limit, and given this is a small game, I don't think that's too much of a concern. So I think we can easily get away with adding a few more frames if we can finally get this working, and it seems like it would look better with more frames. I really can't think of what could be wrong. Let's look at these. Is it possible the ordering? Let's see how the demo has the objects, because I know the order of the items in the list affects the ordering on screen. And I do wonder if maybe this would work out better if they were in opposite order. So there's the buttons. What were those frames called? Spark. Okay. So they're in order. Huh. Okay, so it's just the line. Interesting. And the other ones are I. Oh, so those are in reverse order. Okay. Yeah, I figured those ones must be. And those include part of the background. So, like, the one on top obscures the frames behind it. So maybe I should try reversing the order. I still feel like the way I've written the code, we should see it doing what I expect. But we could try writing the code the other way if I reverse the order. So in order to do that, it's very annoying. We have to cut and paste, and then it scrolls to the top of the list, and it's annoying to scroll down, and then we have to rename each time. L3. PDA screen L2. PDA screen L1. Okay. So let's look at these again. That's our first frame. Just want to make sure they're all the right. That's our second frame. That's our third frame. And then the final appearance. Okay. So next I'm going to change this code. So we're going to put all of those on screen at once, which should put the first frame on top because we've reversed the order. And then we'll move them out one at a time. And allegedly that should work. So we move out the first frame, which should reveal the second frame, and we move that out, which should reveal the third frame, and we move that out, which should reveal the final frame. I still can't really think of any reason why this would work when it didn't work the other way, but we'll see. And if this still doesn't work, I might just have to give up. I mean, I won't give up entirely, but I'll give up for tonight. I'm determined to make this work. Let's try this. Hey! Okay. We got a little very clunky animation. Okay. So, as I was saying earlier, like the plan for that is as the text moves out, the candy will kind of pop up. Like the first couple frames, it'll be smaller and then it'll get bigger as it kind of animates forward. It's not super smooth, but I think we'll probably add a couple more frames in there and see how that looks. That might end up making it almost too slow, but we'll play around with it a little, and I'm sure we can make it a little bit better at least. I'll do it again. And then the other problem is that I think we've pretty much confirmed now that if you try to do animation when you first come into a scene, you're not going to see it. So what we need to do is have this animation happen on the locked version of the device. And then after the final frame, you will move into the unlocked. That should work as expected. But I'll have to mess around with that off stream sometime, or if I don't have time this week, we'll do it on Friday. Let's do one more. Yeah, like I feel like that's just, it's so slow. Oh well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Culinary. All right. We did pretty good. Let's go ahead and make a backup of our work so far. Most importantly, we fixed some bugs and had a good time. Today's the 30th. All right, we're shutting down. Thank you all for hanging out on this little impromptu Sunday stream. I had a nice time. I hope y'all did too. Let's see if there's somebody we can raid. I might just log off, but we'll see if there's somebody we can raid here. Oh, I should do my schedule real quick. So Tuesday, more Kathy Rain. Friday we'll be back at World Builder once again. Also Tuesday I will most likely be finishing up Kathy Rain, which, oh heck, that means I got to figure out what my next Tuesday game is, which I got to put some thought into. We're doing something slightly atypical next, I think, but I'll talk about that more on Tuesday. Unsecret Crush will be streaming over on her channel. Tomorrow is Genshin, and Thursday is a little up in the air, either Genshin or Nier Automata. Thank you, Silver and Culinary, and everybody else that came by and hung out. Let's see. Twitch app is doing a weird thing, and I don't know why. We got choices. Here I thought, there'd be nobody streaming. It's Sunday. Not that many people stream on Sunday, but we actually have choices. Let's choose. Yes, we can't read Silver, unfortunately. Let's go say hello to Cobra Commanda. She was away for a while, and she's back streaming again. Currently playing Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and that's a fun little game that I have never played. So it would be nice to see a little bit more of that. I'm like, wait, what do I say? Like, I can't say have a good week because I'll be streaming again on Tuesday. I can't say have a good weekend because it's basically over now, but have a good rest of your day. Thanks again, y'all. Take care.